Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. It is still in the description below. Reach out to me for questions about this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today we are discussing a 100-piece limited edition in white gold launch for the 2014 model year from Bovet Dimier. This is the Dimier Recital 12. Recital 12, if you wish. This is a timepiece that is relatively thin by Bovet standards, 42 millimeters in diameter in white gold, 9.5 millimeters thick, and that's despite a 7-day power reserve. It's 49 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs, and you can see on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it wears broad and flat. Super low slung with a domed bezel. It will slide underneath the cuff, no problem, compatible with any dress sleeve, though you can see at 49 millimeters lug to lug, it is filling out my wrist. So I think you need a wrist of my size, 16 centimeters circumference, or larger to wear this watch well. Any smaller, and I think you're going to have lug overlap beyond the edge of your wrist. Taking a look at the strap, you can see it is large rectangular scale alligator leather, matte black monotone stitch with a sheer cut edge showing the layers of leather on the bottom. You can see the family Dimier, that is the watch collection to which this watch belongs. No crimping, no gouging, a brand new Bovet Dimier factory strap, a matching Bovet white gold pin buckle. The case is simple but strong with full polished surfaces. You can see that the flange of the case back in the bezel define the mid case, which has quite a bit of compound curvature. The lugs are stepped out. The strap is held to the case outwardly by a combination of screws and bars, though if you look carefully, you can see there are little pull tabs where the spring bars can be released, so these are skeuomorphic screws only. The case is fabricated manually, however, old school fabrication with the lugs and the case made separately. The lugs are slotted into holes in the case flank. The two are welded together, and then manual finishing is used to break up the excess material and create the super sharp break between lug and case that cannot be achieved by conventional case making methods like stamping or machining that are used for mass production. This is done slowly, the old-fashioned way. We have a little sapphire cabochon in the crown. We have a very slightly sloped bezel, and it's actually a domed crystal and a concave bezel profile, a very slightly concave bezel. Taking a look at the dial, it's basically one and the same as the Virtuoso 2 base movement. Now, this movement's been deployed across a lot of Bovet watches. Here you have it in kind of its elemental form. As you get the enormous 7-day power reserve, and you do get a power reserve indicator, but there's not a lot of extraneous complication here. The layout of the dial is beautiful, as we have a couple of different anchoring points with the dial, the running seconds with its tri-spoke, the train drawing off of the barrel, and then of course the escapement and the balance. It's a very good looking watch with a lot of detail finish that stands out and impresses. First, let's do a lume shot, because there is a little bit of lume on this watch. Not a lot, but a little bit. Hours and minutes. Taking a look at the dial, you can see it has a dramatic blue sunburst. It's actually fixed using blued screws. We have a polished Bovet logo, polished hands. We have a lovely pre-Art Deco serif intensive font used. If you look, you can see that the edge of the bezel, the little boundary, has been polished around the dial. It has a dial bezel, which has a combination of satin and polish, and it's really good looking in detail. Also, taking a quick look, we have Côte de Genève on the bridges, we have Media Blast on the base plate, solarization on the barrel with satination on the ratchet wheel as well as the train wheels. Screw heads here are all fired blue, and I deeply appreciate that. You can see that the beveling is quite attractive, probably started mechanically based on my close observation, but finished manually, probably with a handheld buffer tool on a drill bit. That's generally how this degree of beveling is achieved, and it's very attractive. We also have a lovely snailing on this bridge that mounts the tri-spoke for the seconds, and as you can see, the tri-spoke representing sweeps of 20 seconds at a time, blued. The watch has a lovely proprietary balance, and you can see it uses Edicron for fine adjustment, but it also has an eccentric screw micro adjustment mechanism built in. The movement on its reverse side, you can see it's broad and flat. We have a bridge denoting 41 pivot jewels. You can see that the keyless works is visible, including the sliding pinion, the winding pinion, the clutch spring, the setting lever. It's all visible, and it's all nicely decorated, as you can see, predominantly with a satin finish. We have enormous amounts of gorgeously regular perlage. They are perfectly overlapped and concentric all the way around. They're usually not so perfectly nested. They tend to be laid down haphazardly on less expensive watches. Bovet not embarrassing itself, living up to its legend. We have a combination of circular Côte de Genève and beautiful solarization on the structures of the reverse of the case. A lot of French verbiage reminding you that this is for punctual gentlemen, for example. And this is a very different textual philosophy compared to something like Rolex, which prints a factual tome. This is more like Grubel Forsey in that the words encompass the philosophy of watchmaking at Bovet. And of course, all this water resistant down to 30 meters, so it is ultimately going to be a dress watch, and it beats away at a aesthetically pleasing 3 Hertz beat rate, or 6 beats per second. Fun fact, there is a hacking or stop second system here, so you can set that tri-spoke precisely to a reference time to the second. If you love this watch, reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.